Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to do the final instalment of this Swedish and Nordic series that I've been doing for you across December and January. Mainly Swedish beers, but there have been a few other things in there as well that have been quite interesting. But for this one I thought I'd save a really good beer until last. So this is going to be my third visit of the series to Mohawk Brewing Company, who are probably the Swedish equivalent of Mikkeller and Toul. These guys brew some really good beer. They're a kind of gypsy brewery, but we're going to have a taste of one of their winter beers tonight. This one is the Whiteout. It's an Imperial Stout that comes in at 9.7% and it has a rating of 97 on Rate Beer. And as I always say, it's very rare that that website will lead you wrong when it comes to craft beer. If you get a 97 rated beer, you're going to have a pretty damn good beer. So very excited to try this one today. It's supposed to be a bit of a beast, so I can't wait actually. But for this one, as always, I'll tell you a little bit about the company. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Mohawk before. I think this is the fourth one, but I will add more to that in the near future. And there's all the usual social media things, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd. Your support there would be much appreciated, and feel free to get in touch with me through whatever means you like. To my Swedish viewers, I will once again apologise if any pronunciations aren't quite right. I'm still getting used to Swedish, but please do let me know some other Swedish breweries you'd like me to have a look at, and do subscribe to the channel if you are interested in craft beer. There'll be a lot of Swedish reviews for you coming up, and more Danish and other things like that as well. Some really cool beers on the channel. But anyway, to tell you about Mohawk Brewing Company. So Mohawk Brewing Company describe themselves as a virtual brewery, and basically they use extra brewing capacity at various other breweries, almost in the same way that Mikkeller and Toul from Denmark do. But this brewery was founded in 2010 by Stefan Gustafsson, who'd actually been working commercially in brewing for a few years, but before that he'd been quite an avid home brewer for a long time. And he started home brewing because he was a poor student, and also because the range of beers in Sweden was very, very poor at the time. It's only really in the last maybe 5, maybe 10 years that this sort of Swedish craft beer scene has really begun to expand and take off. But he was later inspired to form Mohawk Brewery after seeing the success of the gypsy brewers of Mikkeller in Copenhagen. And now these beers, the Mohawk Brewing Company beers, are regular members of the Systembolaget range in Sweden, and they're distributed by Wicked Wine. So I think you're actually starting to get these beers outside of Sweden these days, but there's usually one or two of them in pretty much every Systembolaget, one of the regular range, and you do get some of the more random ones through the mail order system. There's some really good beer from these guys. As I told you at the start of the video, a lot of their stuff, especially the dark beers, are very, very highly rated on Rate Beer, so they're worth checking out if you can get a hold of them. So please let me know in the comments section below if you do try them and where exactly you're managing to find these beers as well. But just to list the other beers you can get from these guys, as far as I can figure, this is a kind of core range. You get the Citra, the Anything Goes, which I've reviewed for you before, Unfiltered Lager, Brown is the New Brown, which is supposed to be really nice, the Black Rocket, and there's also the American Barley Wine as well, which is very highly rated. In their seasonal range, they've got the Blizzard, which is an Imperial Porter, Snow Melter, which is an Imperial Stout, and this guy here, which is the Whiteout, and there are a few other ones in there as well. This year they had the Xmas Double, and they did have a couple of others in there too, and I've reviewed 3 of these for you. They had the Midwinter's Dark as well, which was supposed to be very nice, but I never managed to get that one. But anyway, that's your brief bit about Mohawk Brewing Company. If you want to find out more, check out the website in the description below, as I said. But to get on to the actual tasting of this beer, this one, as I told you at the start of the video, is a 9.7% Imperial Stout. It's hopped with American, English and German varieties of hops, and the malt base contains 9 different malts, and it has an addition of cane sugar and honey as well. So it's supposed to be a very nice beer. As I said, rated at 97 on Rate Beer, so this one is going to be a pretty damn awesome beer for us to review. The light's just reflecting off it a little bit as I can bring that up to the camera there, but this is the standard artwork for all of the Mohawk beers. This one's a dark blue colour, but they all have different colours on them there. This one's got the plain bottle cap. The last one I reviewed for you did have white bottle cap on it, a special Mohawk one, which was quite nice, so that was really cool. So yeah, don't know why some of them have plain, some of them have normal ones. I think this one was brewed at Slotsjällens Brewery up in Uppsala, which is a little bit to the northwest of Stockholm, sorry. So should be a really good beer. It says here, a rich stout to break the ice, brewed with 9 types of malt, honey, cane sugar and European and US hops. Drink now or cellar for years to come. So when it's 9.7%, it will last for a pretty good time. Yeah, it says here, brewed at Gamla Slotsjällens Brewery, which is in Uppsala. Like I said, they're a very good brewery as well, so check out their beers too. as I say, these guys are probably the Swedish equivalent of Mikkeller and Toro. So without further ado, let's get this beer open and we'll get on with the tasting here. So, well, you can smell a little bit of fruit coming off that one actually as you just open up the lid there. You can see a nice smoky opening on there, and this bottle is really quite full actually. A lot of red fruity esters coming off this beer. Quite a bit of fruit as well. Maybe the hops in this are going to be quite promising. So we'll see how we get on with this beer. Just sit that back there for you. I'm having to use coins to kind of tilt this bottle forward just so it doesn't shine from the light from my laptop screen as I'm filming this beer for you. But it's quite a good feat of engineering, I'll say. I'm a scientist, so I'm proud of my engineering accomplishments when they do come along. But anyway, as you can see, this beer's poured a really nice dark sort of ebony rosewood colour. If I bring the light over and shine it in front of it, it does have a bit of a ruby tinge to it, but it's actually, the way I would describe this beer in terms of the main colour, it's actually a kind of Coca-Cola colour actually. Very nice looking beer. Dark ebony is probably a more accurate way to describe it. There's a frothy beige sort of tan head on there, a quarter finger, but that's fading away to be a very thin foamy layer. There's a few bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass at the bottom. They're quite big ones, but there's quite a few little bubbles going towards the bottom of the head there too. It looks really, really nice, this beer, and you can smell quite a lot of things off it. So let's have a look at the aroma a bit more closely. So first impressions is it's quite a big roasted bready aroma there, kind of coffee-ish as well actually. But you can pick out, there's some sweet chocolate in there as well. The caramel and honey notes are coming out as well, quite toasted actually, which is what you'd expect. The roasted sort of coffee flavour in there, I don't know why I'm wanting to say coffee, but a nice roasted coffee element in there. There's a big kind of bready character in there as well, quite sort of cereally I should point out. Biscuity and cereal notes are quite prominent in the aroma here. And you can also get some nice nutty and woody character infused in there too. That mixes with the cereally, bready character that's in this beer. Some big caramel and honey notes. The caramel, the sort of honey note in this is really quite interesting. You can actually smell the cane sugar, I think, coming out of this one. It's got a really unusual, kind of like quite toasted brown sugar aroma, and that'll be the addition of this cane sugar. So almost as if it's a little bit of a smoked sugar aroma actually. So yeah, pay a little bit of attention to the aroma with this one. As I always say with beers, it's worth checking out the aroma before you actually get stuck into it. But yeah, some sweet chocolate in this one, big caramel and honey notes, quite toasted in that regard. Good bit of coffee in there, and some nutty and woody character. But the big underlying and underpinning quality of this beer is that sort of cereally, biscuity and bready character. And the cane sugar's mixing in there too. It's a very distinct aroma, this one. Never smelt an Imperial Stout quite like this, so this is one that you really should check out the aroma for a bit before you try it. So without further ado then, let's have a look at the actual taste of this beer. So this is the Whiteout, which is a seasonal beer from Mohawk Brewing Company, who are based in Täby near Stockholm in Sweden. Skål! And that's really quite interesting actually, very, very smooth. That's the first thing you'll pick up from this beer. But as I always say, sugar it around the palate a little bit before you start to dissect the flavour too much. So yeah, the flavours that you're getting from this one are much what you'd expect from the aroma. There's a bit more of a hoppy character comes out to it, a nice earthy hop character there comes out in this one, but sometimes that's hard to pick up in the aroma, but in the flavour it's definitely there. So the middle of the palate, you've got this really quite light bready character there. It's almost a bit like a sort of rye bread flavour. That just blankets the middle of your palate. And on top of that, you're getting all these other quite interesting flavours. There's some sweet milk chocolate in there. The caramel and honey's coming out on top of it, but it's quite toasted actually. There is a bit of dryness in the middle of your palate there from the toasted character of the beer. Yeah, that's just sitting there. I mean, when this is 9.7% as well, it really does hide its alcohol warmth quite well. But the cereally and biscuity characters in this beer as well, they're mixing really well within that malt base too. And there's the woody and slightly nutty infused flavour mixed in also. There's a lot of stuff going on in this beer, so just pay attention to the middle of your palate and let all the things come out. There's a lot going on, and it's pretty damn good, I have to say. Fully deserving of its rating of 97 on Rate Beer. The other thing you'll notice about this beer is in the mouthfeel, just how smooth it is. Very nicely done, actually. So yeah, around the edges of the palate, that's where you'd expect the hoppy characters. In the very back corners, there's quite a prominent earthy hop character, and there's a good bit of dryness from it, but it's really quite full and earthy in flavour, so just pay attention to that. As you move a bit further forward, the earthy character smooths out and it gives way to a more grassy and slightly floral character, but again, it's very, very smooth. There's not very much dry character around the front of the palate there from the hops in this beer. Behind the very front of the tongue too, I think there's a little bit of a red fruity ester in there. It's kind of figgy, maybe just a little bit of a sort of raisiny flavour, but again, the red fruity esters that come out, this is more like a candied one. I always describe these flavours as being a bit like the sort of heart sweets that you get from the sort of Haribo Star Mix. The red fruity ester that's in this beer reminds me a lot of that. It's a very just kind of light, very sort of candied fruit aroma in this one, or fruit flavour I should say. But a very kind of subtle note. There could be an element of citrusy flavour to it, but again, it always, in a dark beer, unless you've got a black IPA, it always comes out as being a bit more of a reddish fruit than a kind of citrusy fruit. But again, it could actually be a bit more citric, maybe because it's not quite only a red candied fruit ester. It does have a little bit of a citric element to it, so just pay attention to that oily bubble behind the very front of your tongue there, the very front curve of your tongue, and just go back a bit and you'll feel this oily bubble coming out, and that's where the fruit flavours come out as you progress into the aftertaste of this beer. The lingering components in the flavour of this beer are the roasted coffee in the middle of the palate, and then the earthy elements on the sides of the tongue there too. Really nicely done. The caramel and honey sweetness in here is really quite nice as well. The chocolate starts to come out as the beer warms up a little bit and as your palate adjusts to it properly. So yeah, give this beer, you have to try this beer. This is a very interesting one. That cane sugar that's in there gives the sort of brown sugars and the honey and caramel flavour. It gives it just a little bit of an interesting edge. You can feel that going right down the middle of the palate there, and the aroma, like I said, is very unusual, but the taste also has a bit of a quirkiness to it as well. But overall, has everything that you would expect from a winter imperial stout. It's a good winter warmer beer, this. But in terms of the mouthfeel, I would say quite full bodied. The first thing you'll notice about this beer in the mouthfeel is just how smooth it is. It's a big oily mouthfeel. There's a good sweetness to it as well, but the lingering characteristics of the flavour are definitely the roasted coffee. There's a bit of dryness in the middle of the palate too. There's some unusual dryness as well from that kind of cane sugar that's in there. That gives you a little bit of dryness too, but the brown sugar element in the middle of the palate is quite sweet, but the coffee flavours kind of overpower that a little bit, and there's a good bit of hoppy dryness from the earthy hops in the back of the tongue. The rest of the palate is really quite smooth. So overall, this is a really good imperial stout, fully deserving of its rating of 97 on ratebeer.com. For my personal tastes, I do tend to like my stouts a little bit sweeter, like milk stouts and things like that, but this is really good, and for me this is a tasting beer that you want to try every so often. I wouldn't go out and session these, but I don't think many people would. This beer is a nice treat. It's got a lot of flavour in it, fully deserving of its rating on Rate Beer. So I'd recommend this beer to people who like stouts that are a bit more sort of coffee centred, if you like, and a bit more earthy. So if you like your stouts to be nice and kind of bitter, then this is probably a good one to go for you. But if you like that smoothness in the mouthfeel too, it could be something that you would enjoy as well. But this brewery are very, very good. So pretty much if you want to try one of these beers, and especially from such a good brewery in Sweden, pretty much pick a style you like, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed with it. A very, very good brewery, and very similar in fact to Mikkeller and Totul from Denmark. So if you like their styles of beers, then Mohawk from Sweden are definitely worth checking out. But anyway, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. If you have tried the beer, please let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on it. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are drinking the beers too and watching the videos. Really cool for all your support. But yeah, let me know where you've tried this beer as well. I'd be interested to see where Mohawk are distributing to these days. But I thank you for the support over all these videos that I'm doing for you. I hope you've enjoyed the Swedish series. Been really cool for me to go and try beers from all the different breweries. Some really top drawer stuff in Sweden. But I thank you for watching the beer reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out the social media things in the description below. Most importantly, go and check out Mohawk Brewing Company, and I hope you've enjoyed this series of beers. There will be some interesting things for you coming up, including a German series of beers and a lot of Brewdog ones that I filmed when I've been home at Scotland over Christmas, and some other interesting things as well, such as beers from Slovenia and from Lithuania and a few other places like that. So I hope you enjoy those beer reviews, and thanks for watching this Swedish series. Slanja just now.